All right, let's get into it. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating story unfolding in India. You've got a nation being pulled in two completely opposite directions. On one hand, you have these intense global pressures pushing in. And on the other, a massive domestic growth engine just firing on all cylinders. So, how does that even work? Let's dive in. It really all starts with this one single number, 88.36. That is the record low the Indian rupee just hit against the US dollar. And believe me, a single number like that tells a much, much bigger story about what's going on with the economy. So that's the big question, right? Why is this happening? What's behind this historic dip? Well, the answer is a mix of global market jitters and, you guessed it, some very pointed political pressure. Okay, so first things first, let's follow the money. We need to see what financial forces are really putting the squeeze on the rupee. You can almost see the dominoes fall here. First, you've got this rising anxiety over potential new U.S. tariffs. That naturally spooks foreign investors. And what do? They start pulling their money out. Just in September, we're talking $1.4 billion. But zoom out and look at the year so far. The total outflow is a staggering $16 billion. That is a huge amount of capital leaving the country. Now, it's not a complete freefall, and that's important. India's central bank, the RBI, has stepped in. They're selling dollars through state-owned banks to basically slow the whole thing down. It's an absolutely crucial move to stop a panic and bring some stability when the market is this shaky. But see, this financial stuff isn't happening in a vacuum. To really get the full picture, you have to look at the geopolitical storm that's brewing, and a lot of the thunder's coming straight from Washington. This quote from John Bolton, the former national security advisor, it's incredibly telling. He's basically saying that the close personal relationship people talked about between the US and Indian leaders, it's pretty much dissolved because of these trade disputes. And then you get this, a statement posted directly on social media by President Trump. It's just a brutally blunt assessment, and it shows you the perception from the White House that India is shifting its alliances away from the US and maybe closer to rivals like China and Russia. And wow, this one really shows you the level of pressure being applied. The U.S. Commerce Secretary isn't just criticizing. He's making a public prediction that India is going to, in his words, say sorry and come back to the table. That's a really aggressive way to negotiate, especially on the world stage. Of course, India didn't just let that slide. The official response was swift. The Ministry of External Affairs fired back, calling the comments inaccurate and misleading. A very clear signal they were pushing back, diplomatically. Okay, so that's the storm raging outside. But while all of that is happening, there's a completely different story unfolding inside India's borders. And this story is all about ambitious, homegrown development. Here's the counter-narrative, all in a single number. Over 2,200 crore rupees. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 270 million US dollars. And that's just the value of development projects launched in one single region, eastern Uttar Pradesh. So what does a number like that actually look like on the ground? I mean, it's not just some figure on a spreadsheet. It's a massive 700 crore Coca-Cola bottling plant. It's a brand new packaging unit. It's a skills center to train the local workforce. And on top of all that, hundreds of crores are going into crucial infrastructure like roads and utilities. And here's the most important part of all, jobs. That Coca-Cola plant by itself, it's expected to create 1,200 jobs. But the total investment across the region is projected to generate over 15,000 new opportunities for people. That is a massive injection of economic hope. So let's just put it all side by side, because this is the core of the story. This is the tension. On the left, you've got those global headwinds, a record low currency, billions of dollars leaving the country, and the constant threat of tariffs. But on the right, you have this powerful domestic momentum. Huge industrial investments, thousands of new jobs, and entire industries pushing for more growth. Two very different stories happening at the exact same time. Now, let's just zoom out for a second. Because a nation, it's more than just its currency value and diplomatic fights. The pulse of daily life, of industry, and of culture just keeps on beating. For example, you look at Bengaluru, the country's garment capital. Manufacturers there are pushing hard for a simpler tax system. They're saying, look, let's get rid of this complex, multi-level GST and just have one single uniform rate. They argue it would make everything more consistent and boost the whole industry. It's another perfect example of that domestic engine trying to get stronger from the inside out, no matter what's happening globally. And hey, just to show you life goes on, the James Webb Telescope sent back another breathtaking new image, this one showing the birthplaces of stars. Pretty amazing. And back here on Earth, the cultural engine is firing too. A big new Tamil film, Madharaasi, just opened today, proving that domestic consumer demand is still going strong. People are still going to the movies. So this brings us right back to where we started. You see India standing at a crossroads, being pushed and pulled by these two enormous forces. You've got the storm of global pressure, and you've got the powerful engine of its own domestic ambition. And that really leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? In this tale of two fronts, which force is going to win out? Can all that momentum from internal growth, from job creation, from industrial development, can it be powerful enough to overcome the serious challenges that are gathering on the horizon? That is the story to watch.